welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with another Pen Resurrection Sunday video. When I did my first vintage fountain pen sale just a few weeks ago, one of the pens I sold was a gorgeous Parker Vacumatic in silver pearl. It was the first Parker Vacumatic I had restored. It came out beautifully and I really liked the pen, and I sold it. And I immediately regretted it. But I had this 1945 Parker Vacumatic on its way to me, unrestored and ready for resurrection. If the resurrection was successful, I was determined I would keep this pen. Find out how this pen fared right now. And here is how the pen looks now. Let's see what it looked like right out of the box, unrestored. Here's a box from USPS. It's a purchase I made on eBay. I've made a few purchases on eBay, and all the tracking gets screwed up when it crosses the border. I get a notification that it's been delivered when it gets to the border of Canada, and then the day of the delivery by a courier, I get a notification that something's coming. I don't know what it is. And it's nicely damaged. Thank you. Let's see if it's damaged inside as well. So let's see what's inside this envelope. And it is a pen. And this is my golden stripe Parker Vacumatic with the blue diamond on the split arrow clip. Seems to be in good condition. Let's see if we can get a date code on this. What does that look like to you? Let's get up close. And that is a .5. So that's the second quarter of 1945. It's in unrestored condition. Oh, there's some scars on this. You can see some fairly deep scars there that I'll have to get out. The barrel seems to be in good shape. And that cap band might have some brassing on it. Let's see if we can get that off. The clip is in really good shape, and the top jewel is nice as well. And the cap doesn't seem to have any major scars on it. Oh, there's a couple of scars right there. And there's a gouge. Can't really feel that, so it's not too deep. Let's see. The nib is in horrible condition, but we know it's gold. And that comes clean really nicely. There's the ebonite feed. Still has ink all over it. Lots of corrosion. And that nib looks like a fine. Section's in good shape. No major gouges. And this is a beautiful pen. GOS Parker Vacumatic, made in the US, 1945. Once we've seen it in this condition, then the next time you see it, well, I'll show you the process. But I'm going to clean this Vacumatic up and restore it to working condition. That's half the fun. More than half the fun. We shall see. 1945 Parker Vacumatic in gold and pearl. Beautiful. You can just see that translucent barrel through there. Nice. Beautiful pen. And here is the pen today. As I go over the parts and features of this pen, I'll put up some of the images before restoration. I did a brief overview of the history of the Parker Vacumatic in my video of the restoration of a 1946 silver pearl Vacumatic, which I'll insert right here. Parker introduced the Vacumatic model in 1932, but it was called the Golden Arrow. That name was changed for legal reasons to vacuum filler in 1933. And finally, in 1934, it was released as the Parker Vacumatic. The pen's radically new and revolutionary feature was the Vacumatic pump filler. Instead of using a sack with a pressure bar that occupied a lot of space in the barrel, this new pen used a vacuum pump at the rear of the pen and used the space in the barrel as the ink chamber with a great deal more capacity than the usual lever and button fillers. The pen also had a new, modern Art Deco styling with the new Parker Arrow clip and celluloid body made of alternating rings of clear and dark celluloid, making it see-through so that you could see your ink levels. The Vacumatic was made from 1934 through 1948 in the US and until 1953 in Canada. and came in 7 different sizes, from junior to debutante to standard, major in 2 sizes, oversize, and maxima. This gray celluloid Vacumatic is about 5 inches long, making it a standard size, although cap sizes tend to vary from pen to pen because of shrinkage and ill-fitting cap threads. Now let's look at this 1945 Golden Pearl. This is a standard-sized Vacumatic and measures around 5 inches capped. From the top, we see the black top jewel inset into the gold-filled Parker double arrow clip that has the lifetime warranty blue diamond on the top. And you'll see that those gouges that were there previously are no longer there. And that cap band came up beautifully. Who'd have thunk it that it would look anything like this from its previous condition? And here is the barrel imprint. You can see it says G.O.S. Parker, Parker Vacumatic, made in the USA, and a .5 date code indicating the second quarter of 1945. And that whole barrel imprint is still very sharp because I avoided going over it with any micromesh. There were a couple of really deep scratches in the blind cap, which I've polished out. They're just barely perceptible. I'd say I polished this to about 90%. I'm fine with a normal amount of patina on a vintage pen. The cap unscrews with 3/4 of a turn, and here is the very small black plastic section and the Parker Arrow 14 karat gold nib and black ebonite feed. They all polished up very, very nicely. So let's take a look at this nib alongside some images of how the nib looked when I got it. This is the most miraculous thing about gold. It comes back to life so beautifully. I love this design element on these Vacumatics, the Parker Arrow incorporated into the nib slit. Let's look closer at this nib. Under the arrow, it says Parker, made in the USA. And buried down inside the section, it has the date code of .5 indicating 1945 second quarter. And then underneath that, there's an R, the meaning of which I have no idea. Perhaps it stands for ruthenium, I don't know. Maybe someone out there can help me out. The cap posts deeply and securely and makes for a really comfortable pen that is beautifully balanced. Unposted, the pen is plenty long enough to write with comfortably. And that section is a little bit short, but if I put my thumb back here on the barrel where it's a lot thicker and just rest my fingers underneath that section, it's actually very, very comfortable. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the 1945 Parker Vacumatic in Golden Pearl, with a newly acquired 1947 Parker VS, which I believe stands for Vacumatic Successor, a 1940s Parker 51 Vacumatic, and a 1940 Parker Vacumatic in black with double jewels, and a 1940s Parker Vacumatic in silver pearl. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. The Parker VS is very interesting. I've only had it for a few days. It's a fascinating cross between the classic Vacumatic and the Parker 51. It has the Parker 51's lustraloy cap, but a Parker Challenger clip and a Parker open nib. And it has an aluminum button filler. I haven't had this pen apart yet, but I'll be interested to see if that is in fact a Vacumatic pump in there. Now let's look at them unposted. And here they are unposted. That nib on the Parker VS has been damaged and looks really gnarly. And the nib on the Parker Vacumatic, the black one, is not a Parker. It's a gold nib and it says warranted. So it's a replacement nib, but I haven't restored it or anything. But I've pressed on it and it's very flexible. So I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be a challenge as well because someone tried to gouge out some initials engraved on the barrel there. So I have to see whether I can get some of that ugliness out of there. It's a challenge. Now let's look at some measurements and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is the 1945 Parker Vacumatic, and it has a 14 karat gold. I'm going to call it a fine nib. Let's check the wetness. See, nicely wet. I was very pleased with this nib, and it's really smooth with a nice amount of feedback. I'd say it's pleasant, not in any sense scratchy. And the ink today is Waterman's Serenity Blue. As always, people have asked about the pH level of this ink, and the pH of this Serenity Blue doesn't seem to be neutral at all. But as I understand it, it's not so much the alkalinity or the acid base of the ink in this case, it is the ink load. The amount of ink or dye that's in this ink is very minimal. So that's why it's so easy to clean up, and that's why it's so gentle on pens, especially vintage pens with latex sacks. And as to line variation, well, you can squeeze a little bit of variation out of this nib. It is gold, and it does have a little bit of bounce to it, but it's by no means flexible. Interestingly, as I said in the size comparison, this non-Parker nib on this Parker Vacumatic black is very flexible. Look at that. I'm going to zoom in on this. So this is something to look forward to here. And this nib is marked warranted iridium. Needs some cleaning, but that's a replacement nib for this pen. It might not be a disappointment after all. So I'm looking forward to that. And the line this nib makes is 0.3 to 0.4 millimeters, which makes it a Western extra fine or a Japanese fine on my Richard Binder line width chart, which you can find linked in the description. And for our quote, and reverse writing, a little bit scratchy, but it's actually doing it. Very thin line and not too dry. Yeah, it's got some wetness to it. And some quick writing. You can see that feed has no difficulty keeping up whatsoever. So, what are my thoughts on this fountain pen resurrection? This pen was everything I hoped it would be. Of the silver and the pearl Vacumatics, the gold is my favorite of the two. So when it not only cleaned up beautifully, but didn't even need a new vac pump sack, I was thrilled. The line it makes is still fairly thin for my personal taste, but the effortless flow of the ink makes it a joy to write with, as well as admire. And now I'm searching for an unrestored Parker Vacumatic in either burgundy or blue pearl celluloid, and a medium or a broad Parker gold nib would be awesome. Those are pretty rare pens, so the search continues. In the meantime, I have two more Parker Vacumatics to restore. One in this silver pearl, and one is this double jewel in black, along with this very cool Parker VS Vacumatic, and this late 40s Parker 51 Vacumatic made in England that seems to have a very nice, thick, stub-like nib. And here's the writing sample the vendor gave me when he dipped this Parker 51. So some more resurrections to look forward to. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And please look in the description for a link to Goldspot pens, as I'm now an affiliate of the online store. And when you shop at Goldspot using my link, you'll be supporting my channel as well at no extra charge to you. And you can join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.